Hey guys, I'm Jacob. I'm the man that's behind the camera most times on the live streams, and this is my story. My dad grew up Catholic. My mom grew up in a private Christian school, so come from a pretty religious family, I would say. My mom has definitely always had the strongest faith in the family, so we grew up in a Lutheran church, and it was the typical kid doesn't want to go to church type of situation. So it was always went on big occasions like Easter, Christmas, that type of stuff, but it never really was interested to me. But God has always been a part of my life in some way. It just wasn't until very recently that I would say it became a big part of my life. You know, growing up, I played sports. I played just about every sport that you could think of, at least in some capacity. But it wasn't until about high school to where I really found my identity in playing sports. You know, being a member of the football team, you were the cool kid, as people called it, and you know, I thought I was good. I had a pretty normal life. You know, I was going to school, playing sports, and I thought I was all good. But it wasn't until I started to play rugby my sophomore year that things were going to start changing pretty rapidly. Junior year of rugby, I tore my ACL in the preseason. And, you know, to most people, you know, it's an injury. You fix it and you get over it. But for me, I had never had an injury of that extent. To some people, that's a career ender. For me, that was just a season ender. But, you know, not being able to walk for however long, it was pretty tough. I got into a pretty low spot. Smoke a lot, drank a lot, that type of stuff. So surgery went well, all that was good, and it was then that I wasn't walking for, I think, 2 weeks at that point, and right then I was, you know, pretty depressed, you know, because you can't walk and do anything. But my mom told me she told me to, like, seriously pray about it, you know, meditate on it, just, you know, ask for healing, ask for calmness, and I did. You know, this was before I gave my life to Christ, and it felt pretty cheesy to me at that time, you know, just because you don't really get a response back, that type of stuff. But, you know, by God's grace, I was walking a couple days after that, and according to my surgeon and their whole office, I was the fastest ACL recovery that they had ever seen. It wasn't until about that summer when AJ Militello invited me to come to a Sunday night and, you know, come check it out. And I was, I think I looked pretty comfortable that first day I showed up, but I was terrified. I was uncomfortable the whole time. But right around then is when we took that trip to New Orleans, and I got, for lack of a better word, I got peer pressured into going into it. Like, everyone and their brother was like, Jacob, go, Jacob, go, Jacob, go. So I signed up, and we went to New Orleans. I remember I told my mom that I signed up to go on a missions trip, and she was a little shocked, but at the same time, she was happy for me because she knew, I have a feeling that she knew what would happen. I remember the day that we left, it was really early in the morning, and when we were driving in the van, I was sitting in the back seat right behind Ty, and we crossed the Michigan into Ohio border. And when that happened, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what am I doing? Cause I was like, what am I doing? I was like super nervous. I'm like, I'm going across the country with people I've known for a couple of weeks, and staying in New Orleans for a whole week. But like, in that same thought, it was just like, you're good. You know, it was most likely God saying, you know, dude, you're good. You know, just wait till you see what happens this week. And it was an amazing week. We got, you know, did so many great things, saw so many good things, but that week really showed me how broken I was and how much I needed God in my life. And so when I say there was a lot of brokenness in New Orleans, a lot of the ministries we did were with homeless people, and throughout the week of going to different places and serving, you had people who had absolutely nothing, but yet still were super welcoming and super kind. And some of them knew Christ and some of them didn't. But it was just one of those kind of moments where like they have nothing, but yet they're still like super content and happy knowing that they have God. And I just kind of came to the realization that I needed to be in that similar position, because I was looking to a lot of earthly things. At the end of the week, we were singing worship one night on the roof of the church we were staying at, and I was just looking across the French Quarter, and Ty comes up next to me, and Ty was probing me. I could feel it. He was trying to get me to say it. And in that moment, throughout the course of the week, all the events that had happened, all the people that I met, and just sitting there and reflecting on the week, it just was like a light switch, just boom. And it was a pretty emotional night. I was bawling my eyes out for most of the night, but I gave my life to Christ that weekend on the roof. Came back, and life just kind of went back to normal. I came home and I told my parents the decision I made, and my mom was thrilled. And yeah, I kind of just went back to normal. Like, people that I knew from CBC here were super excited for me, but I didn't really tell anyone that I knew from high school or any teammates that I had played with. I just didn't really, I don't know why, I just didn't really tell them. But as it's come out more, it's just kind of come out in conversation, and I still get a lot of questions about it, but it's like one of those things where like they might make fun of you for it, but I know in my heart it's just like a confidence thing. It's like, yeah, I am. Like, my decision to follow Jesus, like the way that's like impacted me today, when I was going to New Orleans, Ty asked me because I had a camera, he asked me if I wanted to take pictures. And I was, if you know me, like way back in the day, I was not a creative person at all. I was more of I was an athlete, and that was about it. But that week in New Orleans, taking pictures and documenting like what people were doing and just documenting how God was moving through that kind of opened up my eyes to photography. And I would consider myself an amateur photographer at this point. That's what I'm going to school for, is graphic design. So it kind of just, it opened me up to a new career path. And to me, like, serving, like, the reason why I like producing these live streams and these videos and stuff like that is because, like, serving to me, like, this is my way of serving. This is my way of, like, expanding God's kingdom. My life now, compared to what it was before I gave my life to Christ, I would say is pretty different. I'm still an athlete, but that's not really where I find my identity. I've found a whole another group of friends that I didn't have before, from here at CBC and at Michigan State, and I've had a lot of different conversations with family members that I normally wouldn't have had. Like, me and my mom talk about like the Bible and Christ all the time. There are a lot of instances where I'll get anxious and that type of thing, and most people that don't have God or anything like that, they'll just look to earthly possessions or earthly matters to relax themselves or something like that. But for me, it's listening to worship songs. Like, I'll admit it, I suck at reading my Bible, and I think a lot of people would go to say that, but I don't read it as much as I should. But for me, like, when I'm editing photos or editing a video or something like that, and I'll just like pull up Spotify and just put on my worship playlist, and I'll just listen to that, and I'll sing along with it, and I'll genuinely like listen to the words and think about how that applies to me. I'm Jacob, and that was my story.